Hello, everyone. Let's see. There we go. Okay, getting rid of the banner that says we'll be starting soon because we're starting now. Hello. I'm really cold. It is really cold here. I went for a walk earlier and there was freezing rain and it's supposed to snow again tomorrow. So I hope you are all safe and warm and happy. Oh, wait, I didn't turn on my... Look at this. I'm accessorizing. Ooh, oh, that's horrible. Okay, wait. Okay, let's just turn down the glow. Hey, Robert. I'm just trying to get all my accessories to work here. Oh, my friends. Hello. Welcome to today's live stream. We're going to be talking about websites for podcasters today. Unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately, I have some tea in a hot, delicious rainbow alchemy mug, which is a quote from Girl in Space. Unfortunately, it does not hold coffee today. We've got tea. Oh, Robert says it's 82 there. Hello, Sean. Oh, I'm very, very envious right now. Hello, Tim. Oh, I'm so glad you're all here. So yeah, I'm drinking tea because I think I said this in our last live stream. I'm trying to cut down on the unhealthy amounts of caffeine I was consuming. So I've just got tea. And it's good. Hello, Sarah. I'm glad you're here. So today we're going to be talking about, does your podcast need a website? And we're going to be talking about some of the pros and cons of having a website for your podcast. So I'm curious, those of you who are watching the live stream right now, do any of you have a website for your podcast? Hello, Rob. Hi. Funny story. I grew up in Cleveland, so I'm glad that you're here. little hometown pride. Any of you have a website for your podcast? Looking through the comments here. So I know a lot of podcasters do. And a lot of podcasters don't. Hello, Kevin. I love this. Hello, wonderful people who are all showing up. When I started, okay, Robert says yes. Good. I get a lot of questions about websites, and part of this is because, spoiler alert, I tend to be an advocate for websites for podcasts. Carrie says, I will once I get the podcast done. I like it. Good. Robert says it was a pain to set up. Yeah. And it kind of depends where you set it up through and how you decide to build it. But yeah, there's a lot of pros and cons to actually having a website. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people joining us and saying like, current mood, we're so boned. No, we're not. We're good. We're all here together. We're making cool stuff. We're podcasters. Life is good. Things are good. We are good. And when things are not good, we're here to support each other. So, I don't know. I'm feeling positive about the future. Feeling good. I don't know. We'll make it work. So when we're talking about websites, one of the reasons that I'm such a huge proponent of websites is because I don't know how many people know this, but between, oh gosh, let's see. There were several years when I was sort of making ends meet between leaving my full-time job and sort of podcasting full-time. I was doing a lot of other freelance work. And some of that included making websites. I was ghostwriting books. I was building websites. I was doing marketing consulting. And so I've built my fair share of websites. And for 10 years before that, I was in marketing, where I was a strategist. So I was a content strategist who also, oh, hi, Jordan. I was a content strategist who also specialized in sort of user friendliness and it was like a UI, UX, so user experience strategy kind of thing. And so I'm very interested in how we interact online, how we interact with each other, and all of that good stuff, and all of the strategies that kind of go into that. So that's a little bit of my background. So the question is, do I need a website for my podcast? And the answer is yes and no. Need is one of those words that I don't like to throw around, especially as somebody who gives a lot of advice in the podcasting space. I never want anybody to feel like, oh, I can't podcast because I don't have a website, or I can't have a website, or I can't afford a website. Okay. That was weird. My stream went dead for just a second. So we'll see. Keep an eye on things here. I never want to keep anyone from creating something really cool or important because of an arbitrary reason. So, however, is it beneficial for you as a podcaster to have a website? The answer is definitely yes. It is beneficial. And it can be a very, 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 very good thing for you. So we'll go through why that is, what it means for you, all of these things. Hello, Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy is here. Hi. I have to gather my thoughts a little bit too. Oh, hi, Cheyenne. Hello. Hello. How's everybody doing, by the way? I just kind of kicked this off and started talking about websites without asking how you are. How are you doing? Lots of traffic tonight, Tim says. Yeah. Things have been good here. I'm a little bit in a kind of a weird place. I did a live stream earlier for my Patreon patrons, and I kind of talked about how everything has changed, but everything is, I don't know, for me, kind of still the same. Jordan says doing good. Jimmy says wobbly but functional. Kevin says, so I don't think Kevin, I don't know if you're doing pretty well. Cheyenne says adjusting, trying to figure stuff out. Sarah says getting crazy at home for a good cause. Yes, good. So I'm an introvert and I'm self-employed. And so usually Tim and I work from home, and one of us will go out to a coffee shop so that the other person can have quiet in the house. Rob says getting crazy. Yeah. This is kind of normal for me. I mean, usually it'll be interspersed with going to the grocery store and stuff, which we really haven't been doing. But yeah, I don't know. I feel for everybody else, though, whose lives have been very drastically interrupted. I know a lot of people are facing layoffs. A lot of people are just not in a good place right now. So just know that we have a good community and we're here for you. And the wonderful thing about podcasting is that you can do it remotely. So if you want to use the time to record extra episodes of your show and have on some extra guests, I'm sure there's people in this community who would love to help you out and chat with you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out online with me and everybody else amidst all the craziness. So I'm really grateful you're here. So we're talking about websites. And when I talk to people about websites, there's pros and cons to having them. Some of the biggest cons are they take time to set up, they take energy to set up. They cost money often, either for the hosting or for the domain name, all of that stuff. And then they take time and energy to maintain. So you have to update the website and, make sure that it's not falling apart or falling down or dead or any of that stuff. But in my opinion, and again, everything in tonight's live stream is my opinion. In my opinion, the pros far outweigh the cons. So the pros of having a website are a lot. So I'll go through those real quick with you. So the real first, I don't know, for me, this is the biggest thing. It might not be the biggest thing for other people, but for me, it's a big deal that having a website gives you a space that you own on the internet. So if you think of it as you need to have a presence online, and some people have that presence online through Twitter, through having a YouTube channel, through Facebook, through some kind of social media site. Some people have their only real presence on the web is through wherever they host their podcast through. So they may have like a Libsyn page. I know Libsyn does website pages. Or maybe they have their Acast link or wherever it is they're hosting their show through. And then when people say like, hey, where can I find your podcast? They'll print on their business card, twitter.com/ and then whatever the name of their show is. And that's what serves as their presence online to represent their podcast. So the downside about most of these is that this is not a space that you own. So what you're doing when you have your entire digital presence represented by essentially a third party that you're renting space from is, you're sort of relying and trusting on them to keep that space safe and healthy and, not pull the rug out from under you. Oh, Jordan says, grateful to have you here. I'm grateful to have you here, Jordan. And Damien says, hello. Damien, I'm glad you made it. We're talking about podcast websites. And I always recommend that people have a space online that they own that is not a third party like Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, or even like your Acast site or anything like that. So what I mean by a space that you own is a URL. So when I talk about URLs, I hope I'm not patronizing anyone by explaining some of this stuff. When I talk about your URL, that is the link to your web address. And so for me, my URL, I have a few of them because I have a few websites. The one I'll use for an example here is sarahwerner.com. So my URL, my URL is sarahwerner.com. That's the domain for my website. So everything lives at sarahwerner.com. And that is that is something that I paid for and host. So it's $20 a year. So it's really not a lot to own a domain. It's not $20 a month or $20 a day. It's $20 a year. So that's something like, math. It's been a long day. I want to say it's less than $2 a month, but I think it's less than $2 a month, but yes. So let's see. Kevin says actual websites are tough. It means either you're paying for a space out of pocket or your podcast needs to be funded. That's not necessarily true. Like I said, you can buy your domain for $20 or less every year. And then that comes with registration and everything. But then you are also talking about probably hosting too. And I think the hosting costs are what get people. And that's where people start to say, I can't afford to have a website. So it's not really the domain so much as it is the hosting service. So thank you. Kevin and Jimmy are both telling me that that's less than $2 a month. Jimmy says, in fact, that it is $1.67 per month. So a domain can be very affordable. Now, what do you do with a domain if you don't have website hosting? Right, exactly. So Carrie says hosting you can get as cheap as $4 a month for a few years with SiteGround and WordPress. Right. Carrie, that's a great point. And so one of the things that I like to tell people is there's a lot of free options. So Wix is a free option. I won't get too deep into this, but there's some, if you're doing self-hosted versus, I won't even get into all the WordPress stuff, but depending on how you set up your website, some WordPress sites can be free. Otherwise, I like to recommend Squarespace, which is, I think I paid $12 a month. So that's $144 a year, which can be a little steep. But there are other cheap and free options. So, okay, Sean is asking a very good question. So Sean says, but aren't we just renting hosting and domain services from Squarespace or whoever? Those companies could easily fold or pull the rug out. Yes, but in those cases, usually what you're doing is you're backing up your own data, you're backing up your own site. And so what happens then is, so if Facebook goes under and all of your content is hosted on Facebook, if Facebook goes under, you don't have backups for that. You don't have all of the stuff that you wrote out there. It's just gone forever. Sorry, I'm like catching up on the comments. So Jimmy says, I just paid for WordPress Premium with a domain for less than $120 for the whole year. And since I'm a writer, I write it off on my taxes. Damien says Squarespace is like $140-ish a year for the hosting and domain. I have both. Yes, I have all these things. Right. And Sarah says, I use Wix for my boutique online. It costs me less than 100 Canadian. So it looks like kind of on average, if people aren't using the free sites, they're using, I know affordable is relative, but for having a space that you own online, I think it's well worth it. And we'll get into more pros and cons about why. And going back to kind of what Sean asked about, aren't we just renting hosting and domain space? With certain services, so like with Squarespace, yes, you are still renting from their service. But if you have, so for sarahwerner.com, I host my own site on WordPress. And so, like I said, everything is backed up on an FTP server for me. You could do self-hosting. You could do, there's just a lot of, there's a lot of ways to back up your site and make sure that you have copies of all of your valuable imagery and posts and content. And super importantly, your podcast episodes. Jimmy says, back up your site regularly. Most every service has a way to do it. Yes. I back up my site about once every 6 months. I should probably do it more often. But my WordPress site, I have a special integration with Dropbox where it will just back up my site to Dropbox, which is very nice. So, okay. Having a space that you own or control to the extent that you can control it. Again, Sean brought up such a wonderful point. So thank you, Sean, for bringing up that point. It is very legit and it throws a wrench, but it's a good wrench to be aware of. So yeah, having a space that you own is extremely important. Having a website is also a really good place to direct people. It's a really good place to sort of have a home base digitally. And I say that because podcasts are very, at least right now, podcasts tend to be very decentralized. And so people ask, where can I find your podcast? And I can tell them, well, what app do you use? Or how do you prefer to follow podcasts? Do you like to subscribe to the show? Do you like to find their Tumblr or Twitter or Instagram? You know, do you use iTunes? Do you use, actually, iTunes doesn't even exist anymore. We're just scattered across so many different properties. So I'm on Spotify, I'm on Pandora, I'm on our iHeartRadio, I'm kind of everywhere. And by having a website, I have one central place that I can send people and just say like, hey, go to my website. It has literally everywhere you can download my podcast, and it has links to all of my social media presences. So it's just a very good, if you're looking for a consolidated way to share information about your show or share a link to your show, or if you have a business card and you want to print something on the business card that talks about your podcast, just because, with Apple and Spotify sort of battling things out right now, and Spotify kind of starting to come out on top, having just one place where we send people anymore is sort of iffy. So Sarah says, okay. Sarah says, I'm really lost with all this creating your website thing. Any good learning resources to suggest? Yes. I do cover how to create your own website in my Podcast Now masterclass. Is my finger pointing to it? I feel like I have a logo up here somewhere. I have a whole module on that. But honestly, there's a list of pointers that I would give you, and I'll talk about this, I think, near the end of the video. We'll talk about some like kind of easy tips and tricks for making a website for non-savvy people who don't want to talk about FTP servers and buying domains and stuff. It is really a lot more simple than that. So yes, having a home base for your very, very, at least at this time, decentralized podcasting presence can be very beneficial. Before I go on to the next one, I'm just going to read through some comments here. So I'm getting a lot of questions. So Tim says, I know you'd recommend new podcasters launch at least a basic website before launching their shows. Yes. But is it feasible to tackle that after the fact once you've started releasing episodes and or built up steam on social media? Absolutely. This is fantastic. The really good news here is that you can launch your website at any time in the process. So even if you're a seasoned podcaster who has 319 episodes released, you can still build your website right now and start reaping the benefits of it. Like, yeah, you can do it at any time. Oh, hi, Jeremiah. Jeremiah Isley says, stopping by to say hi. Hello. Oh, it's good. I feel like there was one more. So this is, Tim says, web designer, yet another hat podcasters must learn to wear. Why are our to-do lists so endless? I know, it's frustrating. We really are sort of one person shows a lot of the time, literally. Yeah, I do my own graphic design. I do voice acting in my show. I write the show, I edit it, I make the website, I do the social media. Oh yeah, Jeremiah says, I'm on my way to a Zoom meeting, but I totally recommend having a website for your show. Central hub. Yes, it is very valuable. And then it can be very simple when you start it off. So you can just start off with a one page that has like the name of your show at the top and your logo, loud cars going by, and like links to your social media outlets, definitely links to where people can subscribe to your show. Depending on the complexity of the website you build, you may have embedding. So you might be able to embed iframes of your podcast episodes within your website. And then if you want to get really crazy, you can build more than one page on your website, and you can have like, a page that has the cast and little bios about the cast of your show. Or if you have a nonfiction show, you can say like, hey, here's a little bit more about me, the star of the show or the host of the show. Here's my credentials. Here's my press kit. We can talk about press kits during another one of these live streams at some point. I think that would be a good idea too. Damien says, I'm so glad I decided last minute not to voice act on my show. That would have wiped me out. Yeah. I only did it out of necessity, really. I was so new starting out in audio drama. I wasn't in the community yet. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, fine, I'll just act in my own show. Whew. Yeah, it takes a lot out of you, but got to learn some new skill sets, so that was exciting. Okay, so far about websites, we've covered having sort of a central hub, like a home base where you can link people to where everything lives, having a place on the web that you have control over, or caveat, at least more control than you do over third-party sites like Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr and all of that other stuff. So, yeah. The next thing that we're going to talk about real quick is SEO. SEO is a term that you may have heard before, and you may know what it means, and you may already be doing stuff with it, but SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically what that means is if you are following all the practices of SEO, of having good SEO, it means that when people are searching around the internet for like really good podcast about dentistry or fun podcasts about science fiction or whatever they're searching for in the search engine, if your website is optimized, it will show up nearer to the top of the search results for an appropriate search. Sean says SEO is a bad word. This is a family-friendly show. Sounds like you're a little bit jaded with SEO there, Sean. Huh? So does SEO have a bad name? Yes, because there's good and bad ways to do SEO. There's ethical ways and there are less ethical ways. I will always advocate for ethical SEO. Okay? I don't want any of you doing keyword stuffing. I don't want any of you doing any of the nasty stuff. Damien says SEO is something I still have a poor grasp on. Sean says mostly scared of it. I'm just going to make a little note here that maybe I should do a live stream about SEO at some point too. Also, it's funny. It is 7:30 here, and I was like, yeah, today's live stream, I'll only go for like 20 minutes, and I've been going for 30 minutes, so sorry about that. I'm trying to make these shorter. I'm trying to make it so that like you can just get in, like learn something, and then like be free. I mean, I guess you can leave at any time if you want. I can't keep you here, obviously. I won't keep you as my live stream hostages, probably. Anyway, so SEO. So if you have a website for your podcast, you get a boost in SEO. And thank you. Tim says that these live streams are as long as they need to be. There you go. I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. And Rob says, I like the connection in this time of social distancing. Good. Damien says, sorry you like hanging out with us too much. Oh, Sean. Okay. Sean is just on fire tonight. Sean says, I think what scares me off about SEO are the hordes of shady people out there trying to sell me SEO related services. Yes. Oh, case in point. Wait, I have to open this up because I don't know how to do screen share on this thing. But I get these emails. So I got this email that says, Sarah, I have read your show notes and ... And it's like this like deep shaming email from these people that I don't even know, who are from some kind of service. What is the service called? Doop, doop, doo. Like growpodcastseo.com or something. Whatever. So as Sean points out, these services are shady. They are most likely unethical in the way that they get SEO boosts. But this email is just so nasty. It's like, hi, Sarah. It's lacking, Sarah. Sorely lacking. So I'm reaching out to help. Many podcasters are not getting the traction they deserve despite their years-long run and a consistent release schedule because of the following: leaky episode titles, sparse show notes, unclear calls to action. If this sounds familiar, we could talk about how I can help. Send us an episode for a free trial and we'll blah, 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 blah. I guess don't use these services. I mean, I'm not going to tell you like what you can and can't do with your own money. I would not advise using these services. Damien. Oh, Damien says, so I just typed in good cyberpunk podcast in Google. My website is nowhere to be found despite our pretty solid successes. So I'm going to say I failed SEO. You didn't fail. You're not failing in anything like real right now. Okay, Damien, I want to say this to you specifically. You're not really failing in anything. Oh gosh, this is like a whole topic in and of itself. I'm like, how do I back up enough to talk about what you can do on your website? The algorithm for Google and other similar search engines, so whether you use Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo, or does Alta Vista still exist? I don't know. Whatever it is you're using. Well, and even YouTube and the Apple podcast store use SEO or some version of SEO. So it's the algorithm looks for quality and boosts your show or boosts your website because of what it perceives as quality. And that's what we always need to keep an eye on, is what is quality to the algorithm. So back in the early 2000s, quality meant if somebody types in best ice cream in Chicago, we want the best ice cream store in Chicago to show up at the top of the search results. And so what every ice cream store in Chicago was doing was something called keyword stuffing. This is just an example. I'm not blasting the ice cream stores in Chicago. Like, this is just an example. But if you had an ice cream store in Chicago, what you would do is you would hop into like the meta description. You would like have all of these pages on your website that just repeated the word best ice cream in Chicago. I don't know if you remember any of these websites from like the late 90s, early 2000s, even up to the mid 2000s. You would go to like a website and it would be like, we have the, and then you would see a very specific phrase called out. I have a spot on my hand. I think it's a piece of my chair. My cat climbs up here and claws my chair into little shreds. So that's fun. So you would go to a website and it would say like, best ice cream in Chicago at, John's Ice Cream Parlor. We're proud to serve the, and then it would be in bold, best ice cream in Chicago, period. As a retailer of the best ice cream in Chicago, comma, we want you to know that you will definitely enjoy the best ice cream in Chicago when you visit our shop, comma, known to have the best ice cream in Chicago. That practice was called keyword stuffing, and it was horrible. It doesn't exist anymore. Some people act like it still does, and they do keyword stuffing within their content. They do it within the meta. They do it behind the scenes. They do it even with invisible text on pages. Google has grown and evolved since then, or rather, the people who create the algorithm have gotten a little bit smarter since then. So now if Google sees too many repeated things on your website, it'll say, you're keyword stuffing, and it'll actually demote you. So, yes, shady services create false metrics. Yeah, amen. This is exactly what I was getting, Jimmy. It's like, hello, podcaster, you suck. Give us your money. Then you will not suck. Give us your money. Ooh. J. Michael D'Angelo says, I wrote keyword stuffing freelance in the early 2000s. It almost killed me. Oh my gosh. I feel for you. I'm so sorry. Oh, that's awful. I also want to call out, Jordan says, Wix has a feature that walks you through boosting your own SEO, which is awesome. Wix is, and Jordan, maybe you can tell me, as far as I know, Wix is free, or it has a free option for a free website. Cheyenne says, as someone who regretfully wrote extremely sketchy articles for the internet, there is no good way of keyword stuffing that anyone will actually appreciate, right? You'll just make people annoyed and nothing helpful will come of it. Exactly. And this is something that I tried to educate people in back when I was working for the website agency that I worked at. They're like, hey, don't we need to have this, in our H1 tag and our H2 tag? Don't we need to have this in like the name of our page for SEO? Not exactly. The algorithms have grown smart enough that they understand that quality isn't as ham-fisted as it used to appear. So what they're looking for now is good, fresh content. So if you're updating your site regularly with new photos or new podcast episodes, new blog posts, all of that stuff, they're still looking for keywords just in certain ways. They've also gotten smarter. I think it was with the Hummingbird update. Oh boy, I'm getting into like my old stomping grounds here. What was it called? It's not Elasticsearch. What was that called? Oh my gosh, semantic search. Sorry. With semantic search, Google started understanding synonyms. I don't know if there's a synonym for cyberpunk, Damien, but we'll talk. We'll talk about that. I'm going to put this up here. Jordan and Damien have been talking in the chat about SEO for your website. So seoguide.wix.com. And it's very helpful. Moz, M-O-Z, also has a very good SEO guide 101. So, okay, I could talk for like days about SEO because it's so complicated. But basically what I'm saying is having a website that has your podcast on it that gets refreshed regularly and that has the name of your podcast as the main page title and in the URL is very good for SEO for your show. So, okay. Harry says external links work well too, right? Getting your site and its content linked on other blogs helps boost credibility and visibility. It absolutely does. And Google also understands when people are linking back to your site and when people are referencing your site, it gives you a little bit more authority. There's just a lot going on there. So this is another reason why I advise you to have a website. You don't even need to understand all of the SEO stuff. You don't need to understand like how domains work or anything like that. Just having a website and talking about your podcast on it and making sure you update it, I don't know, once a week, once a month. It can be with new fan art. It can be with pictures. It can be with show notes, write-ups, whatever. And Sarah says Wix is a free option and then different level fee. Oh, okay. Depending on your needs. Okay. So there's free options out there. There's paid options. The ones we talked about before, Squarespace, WordPress, whatever else we talked about, run between $120 and $144 a year, which in the grand scheme of things can be affordable. Again, I don't want to assume that that's affordable for anyone, especially because I know so many podcasters are struggling and need help financially. So Harry says, I have a website for my show through Squarespace, which I'd recommend. The number one reason is to have a universal place to send people who might not use one platform versus another, but want that central location to learn about the show. Exactly. Oh, hi, Melissa. My Aunt Melissa's here. The internet's so weird. The internet is so weird. I have relatives, I have friends in here. This is just amazing. I'm going to run through just a couple more benefits that come with having a website for your podcast. So in addition to being that sort of central hub, in addition to being a place on the internet that you own more so than you do, Twitter or Tumblr or Facebook, in addition to providing you with SEO for your show, your website is also a place where extensions of your content can live. And when I'm talking about extensions of your content, I'm talking about show notes and transcripts for your episode, which are extremely important when we start talking about accessibility. So I made a huge faux pas many, many years ago when I first started podcasting. Some of you have heard this story before, but I was volunteering in inland Jamaica. There's a village there that acts as a sanctuary for the deaf, and there's a deaf community there. And oh my gosh, I was so excited about launching the Right Now podcast. And I told everybody there, like, oh, I have this new thing. And I started a podcast and it's really exciting. And they're like, yeah, what, they're signing as a sign language. What is it you've started? And I was like, it's a podcast. And they're like, we don't understand what that is. And I was like, you can't listen to it. Oh my gosh, I'm such a jerk. So 33% of the people who use the internet have some kind of disability, whether it is color blindness, whether it's hard of hearing. It can be so many different things. Accessibility is really, really important. Really, really important. And there's people who may not be able to listen to your show who would still enjoy your show, which is why I advocate that we have show notes. Again, show notes are also very good for SEO because Google can search and read through the show notes, even though, sidebar, there's all of these wonderful new advances that they're making where Google can actually parse audio, which is exciting. So we're kind of moving into that whole new territory there. But for now, show notes are great. So they can live, yes, in the... Oh, do I not have my phone with me? Oh, shoot. Well, I was going to show you how show notes can show up, but I'm sure that you're, fairly used to that. But yeah, you can have them show up when you pull up your show in the podcatcher, but you can also have extended show notes with links and references and all of that good stuff out at your websites. This is the program that I used to volunteer with. Thank you for the link, Tim. They're good people. Rob asks, any good examples of show notes to share? Yes. I'm thinking about this and like how to do it without showing my own stuff because I'm not that big of a narcissist. If you have an audio drama, it's a little bit easier. So if you have a fictional show and you have a show that has a script, I just put my transcripts out there directly from my show. I just put my script out there on the Girl in Space website. For the Right Now podcast, what I do is I listen to the episode after I record it because I don't script my episodes for that. Maybe I should. I just kind of free speak them. There's a better word for that. Stream of consciousness talking. I don't know, rambling. I just ramble them. And then afterwards I listen to it and I look at the main points and say, okay, here's really what I was saying. Here's the 3 main points. Here's a call to action. Another thing you can do is transcribe your nonfiction episodes. So if you send them into a service like rev.com, transcription costs, I think, about $1 a minute through that service. You can also use independent and local people to transcribe your show as well. Again, it is fantastic for SEO and it's wonderful for accessibility. Okay, Tim is Tim, you're so wonderful. You can take a look at my show for show notes. I really don't want to be like, hey, I'm doing it right. Go to my website. But you can if you want. I'll let you know if I can think of any other good people who. Good people. Oh, it's getting late. It's been a long day. I recorded a bunch of videos earlier today and I did a live stream for my patrons. And at this point, my little introvert brain is like, hey, what are you doing to me? Damien says, I volunteer as tribute if you want to use someone else to show notes on a website, though I essentially do what Sarah's saying with posted scripts, right? Yes. I also know Jordan, who's kind of been in and out of the conversation here, post scripts. A lot of people post them as PDF, which I would not recommend doing because screen readers cannot easily read PDFs. I think they're getting better at it, but it's a little bit more accessible if they're just in regular text on your website. Real quick, Jizraj says, I struggle with the SEO stuff. Our name is unique enough that it never gets mixed up with other results, but it's a video game podcast. And I don't know how I'd get to the top of Google results for video game podcasts with the amount of video game podcasts out there. Yes, I'm going to save that question for a specific episode on SEO because there's several other things that you can do. Ooh. So yes, we will talk about that during a later live stream. Kevin asks, can show notes be messed up on different feeds? Yes. It's really easy for show notes to get weird, especially because depending how your RSS feed is set up, and how you do your show notes through your media host, sometimes links won't work. If people listen through the type of player that sort of re-encodes your show or does something with your show notes, they can get really messed up, which is again why I urge you to have have your home base of your website to have your show notes on it. So that you have sort of like a canonical and official copy of your show notes, because they do sometimes get lost in translation when going over to different podcatchers. Do you know if Google Docs are screen readable? Yes, they are. They are. Tim says posting scripts is also great for content warnings. People can read more sensitive, violent, vulgar material before subjecting their ear holes to it. Yes. Damien says the SEO topic really could go on forever. Yeah, because I haven't even scratched the surface about SEO. Okay, that's going to be like, we'll workshop that. Like maybe that'll be its own like, hey, come live stream with Sarah for a full day and we'll talk about SEO because we're not covering it. We're not doing it justice right now. So yeah, it'll be like Sarah's non-threatening SEO power day or something like that, where we won't use any scary jargon and we'll make everything really easy and relatable because it's doable. There's just a lot going on there. Again, and that's something that people paid me a lot of money to consult about. Back when I was working for, the ad agency and doing consulting, is because it's so freaking just complicated and convoluted, and it's always changing because the algorithm is always changing because people are always changing and the web is always changing. Okay. I'm just going to get all worked up here about SEO when that's not today's topic. It was just a point that I mentioned that your website is good for. Okay, so I'm getting down here to the end of my pros and cons list for having a website for your podcast. At the bottom of my notes here, it just says 1 page equals okay. So really, you don't need to have a giant 5,000 page website for your show. really all you need is one page. That's the title of your show. You can have links to where people can find it. All of that. It doesn't have to be this like huge beast with all of these like embeddable things. And no, it can be very, very simple. And in fact, the simpler sites are often more simple to navigate, easier to navigate. Tim says, oh yeah, this is about websites. We're not talking about SEO. We're talking about websites, you guys. Throw me off. I threw myself off. I love talking about SEO. Oh, it's just so convoluted. But okay. I hope that at least to some degree, I have caused you to think about having a website for your podcast if you don't have one already. Tim says, how many dancing baby gifts should I use on a single page? 0. This isn't GeoCities. The answer is 0. 0 dancing babies on your website. We're just sort of degrading here. Like I said, it's been a long day. We've all been inside for a really long time. It's supposed to snow here tomorrow, which is depressing. But yeah, do any of you have questions? Any questions? Sarah says like a trillion. That's fair. Oh, for the baby, the dancing babies and autoplay mini songs. Right. So in the last few minutes of today's live stream, we're going to talk about how to make the worst and most obnoxious website you possibly can, which includes tons of PDFs, text that's actually an image. That's always fun. So then when you get like the mobile size like of the site, like the text is really small because it's in an image. Hamster dance party, just throw it all out there. Autoplay videos, autoplay songs, just fill their ears and eyes and lives with dancing babies. That is not how I thought tonight's live stream would end. But there you have it. It is 8 p.m. and I'm like, I want to go to bed now. Oh my gosh. Oh, those awful websites with like the little spinning rainbow cubes, and then like at the bottom, do you remember site counters? Or like hit counters? What were they called? Where you like measured the number of people who visited your site in the bottom? I had one of those. I had what did I have? I had a Zanga blog back in like 2002, I think. And it had a hit counter at the bottom. I mean, really, that's what we're doing now with podcasters and downloads, is that's our new hit counter. Tim says, go to bed, Sarah. We'll talk more of this website phenomenon at a later time. Oh, guest books. That's what, yeah, guest books and the GeoCities websites. Oh, I remember when websites had guest books. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm like time traveling in my mind now to the good old days of the horrible, crusty old internet. Anyway, websites have come a long way since then. Jimmy says, you thought you'd take us prisoner, but who's the prisoner now? You've all caught me here. Oh my gosh. Okay. As you can tell, it's like almost kind of dark outside, which means I can start thinking about going to bed because I'm secretly 900 years old. Tim says, you're stuck in here with us. Ooh, Java applets. Yes. Web rings. Oh, this is like nostalgia night. It's nostalgia night on the stream. Oh, yes. Kevin says websites now have drag and drop features. So it's really, really easy to build a website. Squarespace has a great drag and drop feature. I think even WordPress updated to, I think what they were calling it at some point was Gutenberg. I don't know if they're still calling it that, but WordPress now has drag and drop. So, okay, your homework tonight, should you choose to accept it, is to start thinking about either creating a website for your podcast if you don't have one, or improving/updating your podcast website. I bet one of these two things are things that would be good for you to do. So, okay, I'm going to leave you with this final thought from Harry, whose angel fireside still exists somewhere in the ether. Oh, which I absolutely love. And I'm going to say thank you for spending your time this evening with me and the rest of this amazing community here. Podcasters are awesome. I hope you're all taking really good care of yourselves. I hope that you're in good spirits. I hope that you're enjoying working on your websites. I hope that you are social distancing, keeping yourself safe and healthy, and keeping other people you love safe and healthy. I'm just putting this up here. Every time I hear drag and drop, I hear drag and drop. That's legit. But yeah, I hope you're all taking really good care of yourselves and of others. So if you need anything, let us know. Probably the best way to ask questions and interact with other members of this community is through the Facebook group Seriously Successful Podcasters, which some of you are watching this through right now. So thank you if you're here through that. Homework is to stay safe and healthy and to look out for each other. Yes. And also think about your podcast website. So, okay. Love you all. Take care of yourselves, and we will speak again soon.